All right, continuing with this month's prep, which is tools. Let's look at tools in the SHTF situation, specifically today, SAWS. Now I have lots of saws, just like I'm sure you do. In addition to these, I've got a miter saw, I've got a table saw, and I love them, work with them, and if I have my choice, this is what I'm going to use versus hand saws. But in an SHTF situation where you don't have the electricity to power these saws, well, then you may look at going with the rechargeable battery tools. And once again, they've got just about every tool you can think of that uses batteries, but these have to be recharged also. There's all kind of solar chargers out there. You know, there's the inverters like I have. So yes, you can make these work, but if you've used these much at all, you know that, you know, very often you're going to have to go through several batteries to get one of these tools, especially one of these tools that really suck the juice, to do the job. That's where hand saws come in. So it's important to have hand saws to be able to do the things that you used to do with either power saws or battery saws in case you can't use those anymore. And this is just, you know, I gathered up my collection. I have several hacksaws. One neat little hacksaw is this one here. I picked this up at Tractor Supply at like $6-7. And what it does is it's a hacksaw that allows you to get into small places where a larger hacksaw couldn't. And another thing it does, which really turns me on, is it accepts reciprocating saw blades. And that's kind of important, because if the grid goes down and my reciprocating saw no longer is of use to me, I'm going to have a lot of blades that without this, I don't know where I could put them. I don't know where I could use those. So that is a really important tool in my opinion. Now, in addition, when you lose your circular saws and your jig saws and you lose your table saws, you're going to be back to these boys. And it's going to be real important that you have some good old hand saws. Now mine are old hand saws, but they work fine. I give them a little squirt of silicone or WD when I go to work with them, and they work just fine. Needless to say, they're both pretty old. And then this is something very important. This is a miter box. And what this does is allows you to use your saw to do miter cuts. And, you know, I've got a great miter saw over there. It does all the work for me. But in case you don't have the electricity to turn your miter saw on, this really could come in handy. Now, these are all tools for working with cut lumber. And, you know, there's no reason to think that there won't be plenty of lumber for you to work with in an SHTF situation. It's not like we all got to go out and start building log cabins, okay? So I think it's real important that while you're thinking about your machetes and your bow saws and all that neat stuff, that you give some thought to these type of saws and have them on hand. And what the heck, every now and then, pull them out and work with them. I keep this one in my truck because sometimes it's just not worth plugging in the saw or grabbing the little circular saw with the battery pack and putting that in there. Sometimes it's just fun to get that and get a little pump and find out what it was like to saw back in the old days.